handlock, for example, is pretty similar to a normal handlock, except it doesn't run the giants, and instead it goes for mid-game minions that are going to be sticky and hard to get rid of. His paladin, likewise, is pretty similar to a very standard paladin, except we see Mr. KT in the lineup there.
Yeah, I'd say this is a bit of a differentiant from the normal paladin because it's running more late game, which certainly makes it a big threat against all of the decks that Chakki has brought. You would almost think that this paladin deck gets a free win at some point in this series, just because against a mill format, having so many bulky creatures can be really successful.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially when you can bring them back with Kel'Thuzad, they become extra powerful because you gotta get rid of them twice, and you're likely to just run out of steam. On the side of Chakki, this is still a very unorthodox deck with very few threats. This is actually called the one threat deck. So much like LifeCoach's Warlock, it's pretty much focused on removal and the mid game more than anything else. So the biggest threat, I believe, in this deck is going to be Dr. Boom.
The Chakki's Warlock decks is slightly different than the one LifeCoach brought in one way that Chakki has a burst combo. He brought Arcane Golem Faceless, so he can do that really big hit, whereas the one that LifeCoach brought is simply all creatures and no spells, not even things like a Siphon Soul, just pure creatures all the way through. So they are different in a way, but they do both have that non-standard Warlock deck where it's not demons and it's not giants. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out.
Absolutely. And it's really a trait that we actually didn't see the decks that are currently so popular in the meta make it into the finals. But instead, two of the people with the most unorthodox decks making it through. Perhaps my only regret prior to this match is that Tides of Time had to face Chakki, because Tides decks were crazy and that series was so close.
Yeah.
It was almost finals worthy, but of course LifeCoach, a very mathematical player, making his own decks, and this kind of thing always makes me happy. I am a StarCraft 2 player, and I am oftentimes an innovator in StarCraft 2 in terms of strategy. I like to make my own strategy, and these guys do too, and I can really appreciate that and applaud that, and it just feels like what the game is supposed to be like. It is a strategy game after all.
Yeah, it really feels like they appreciate the format too of having the multiple series rather than just bringing anything clean cut that's maybe good in all the matches. They're bringing something with an actual strategy in mind for how they're going to take on multiple decks in a row.
Yeah.
Well,
So
it's a pretty slow start here so far. We just have the basic creatures coming out. I'd say normally that a paladin would be favored in this match just because the quality is so potent against the big creatures that a warlock will bring. But because Chakki is using that big burst combo, that is what you fear as a paladin, you have no way to get your health above 30, right? So if there's a single creature on the board, that burst.
yeah, and the cool thing about this is if he doesn't actually reveal the burst combo, which he won't unless he's about to win, right? Then we lost you, Dylan. I'm solo casting right now, apparently. How do we fix that, Rob?
Really?
You're back. He's back?
You're my back? Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Just like that, man. In and out. In and out.
Do you think he quartermasters here?
He could. I mean, it gets pretty good value for how early for turn 5 quartermaster. You're usually not gonna get two little kids, but then you do what? Yeah, I like the owl better here, because both of the boys there would just die to the Drake, and yeah, taking it to the face. So again, maybe if he knew about the burst, he would hesitate about doing things like that. Perhaps he would trade a Silver Hand Recruit, but of course there's the Quartermaster in his hand, so if there's no Hellfire or some sort of removal, with which there isn't, then he wants to try to get value off of those.
From the player perspective, it's always very difficult to get a read on what the Warlock deck is, because Warlocks are drawing so many cards. You expect them to have some utility plays anyways, just with that much stuff in their hand. So you can't say, oh, he had Implosion maybe, and then that means he's a so-and-so type of Warlock. It's very easy to carry around a couple extra cards. So it's easier for Chakki, I think, to identify what type of deck LifeCoach is bringing rather than the reverse.
Yeah. I would be surprised if Chakki did anything. Oh, I was going to say he would probably go Implosion here, but actually going for the Sludge Belcher. And that's going to work out better against the Quartermaster. So playing around that as a Sludge Belcher is at least going to trade with 2 of the... Or actually, the Owl could take a hit. So.
Yeah, Quartermaster looks pretty solid here.
Yeah, very.
So we see Harrison in LifeCoach's hand. There is one really interesting interaction with Harrison in this matchup. When you go into the Jiraxis form, you get a 8 durability weapon. So you can Harrison that, and then you will draw through all of your cards and probably bring you the answers you need, which makes Jiraxis would normally be such a game-winning maneuver in a slow-paced match like this, but being able to destroy that weapon takes away a lot of the threat, and then you've gotten so many cards that it's a lot easier for you to push for a victory.
Yeah, of course, playing against Chakki and seeing his other decks, do you think he's even though he hasn't seen anything that would tell him, hey, it's a mill deck, do you think that would still be in the back of his mind for keeping Harrison Jones? I mean, we know Jiraxos is not in this deck anyway, but LifeCoach could suspect that there is a Jiraxos. At the same time, Hellfire is a great draw here. At the same time, do you think that Harrison Jones would be a good idea? Because from LifeCoach's perspective, because of the nature of Chakki's decks.
I think you would want to hang on to the Harrison just in case. Right now, from what I've seen of LifeCoach's perspective, it looks like a pretty standard hand lock. It's been Zombie Chow, Twilight Drake, Sludge Belcher. There's nothing to indicate it's not just a hand Warlock with Giants. So he's going to have to wait for more information, and I think you'd want to save that Harrison because it is such a game-winning play when Jiraxis comes out.
Yeah. Okay. So we'll see what he chooses to do with that. And we might see Hellfire here. Yeah, there's no other real play, I think.
It's not too comfortable for Chakki here. He has nothing on the board. He's got some average creatures in his hand, but he's giving the lead to LifeCoach every turn.
Yeah. A card like Implosion, of course, can change the tide of the battle. But also Sylvanas would be a pretty good option next turn potentially, especially with a Sludge Belcher. You're almost guaranteed to steal something if it doesn't get silenced.
Well, you're going to start to worry about Molten Giants soon. You can get them to about 15, but after that point, you want to be sure that you can deal with Molten Giants. It wouldn't surprise me for LifeCoach just to go for it because he does have the equality in his hand. So even if Giants came out, he was quite prepared.
Yeah. So wouldn't be too surprised to see him go Phasor. Tyrion could be a really strong turn 8 as well, but we know there's a Siphon Soul in Chakki's hand right now. So.
Yeah, I think he'll probably use Tyrion next turn. The worst case would be Silence and Siphon Soul, but still getting the Ashbringer in this match is quite devastating because the Warlock always runs so low on HP on their own.
Yeah. Okay, going for the Twilight Drake. I mean, one Owl was already used, so there's that. However, a little bit surprising to me, and this is, of course, from someone that is not anywhere close to Chakki's level, but the Twilight Drake with only 4 attack is not really going to be able to get through the Sludge Belcher, not without the Dark Bomb's help or the Implosion potentially. So what do you think is the thought behind this play, perhaps over a Sylvanas play, for example?
I guess he just wants to invest the stats in the board now while he still feels that he's safe. It is true that the Twilight Drake really gets stuck on that Sludge Belcher, so it's not very pleasant, but he just wants to make sure that he's got an investment for the future. When he won't die now, he might as well use the time.
Okay. So just trying to get the Twilight Drake with as much HP as he can while he can, basically.
Well, looks like Tyrion to me. Your turn 8, you have board control.
Yeah, there's of course the quality play is not too bad either, but he goes for Tyrion, and this suddenly became really hard for Chakki. I wouldn't be surprised if LifeCoach just went face, considering they're attacking the Farseer for a second. Maybe just to protect the Sledge Belcher, but seems unnecessary with an Equality Consecration and True Silver Champion on the board, plus potential of Ashbringer. It's looking great for LifeCoach in game 1 here.
If this was a different setup and LifeCoach had been playing Tyrion on an empty board, he would have lost that to the Sylvanas Power Overwhelming. But in this case, I'm not really sure what Chakki does. I guess you could siphon the Tyrion, but you know you're giving him a lot of damage, and you still can't deal with the board at that point.
Do you just Sylvanas Power Overwhelming anyway and just hope for the Tyrion? Is that the play? 1 and 4 to turn the tides of the game around.
I mean, that would be really impressive if it worked, but it would be quite the risk from the player's perspective.
Indeed, but at this point, you have to assess mathematically whether you think your chances of winning this game right now are greater than 1 and 4, because, I mean, we know they're probably not if he can't get that Tyrion, right? So, and Chakki doesn't necessarily know that he has a Quality Consecration, a whole lot of damage in his hand as well. From the True Silver Champion was... Oh, this is perfect-ish.
I mean, he still risks dying here. The True Silver, I think we'll just kill him. Didn't silence, so
no, and
he
that's
dies,
lethal. Yeah, Eagle.
Well, I mean, I think from Chakki's perspective, this Paladin deck was probably going to be the hardest thing to overcome with any of his decks because it's just so late game focused. Compared to LifeCoach's other decks, they could be a lot easier to take on.
Late game focused can be pretty good for fatigue and mill decks though. Like if you're holding onto too many cards, and that can be really nice. There's oftentimes room for the Cold Light Oracle to just like come down and make you overdraw and burn some of those cards that you kind of need in the late game.
Yeah, that's true. I like LifeCoach's deck a little more against the fatigue style because it's using the Death Rattle creatures with the 2 piloted Sky Golems, which can be very frustrating to remove from the board as something like a Fatigue Mage or a Mill Druid. You just have those single target removals.
Yeah, I mean the Druid might have an easier time with that. And I think from Chakki's perspective, if he's expecting the same deck to come from LifeCoach in the second match, I would actually pick the Druid over the other two, over the Warrior and the Fatigue Mage, just because like you still have pretty good odds with Tree of Life, for example, and Poison Seeds plus Starfall combo. So, you know, like those Death Rattles are not as powerful, and Tree of Life can be a nice way to just reset the game in terms of HP, so you can afford to take a little bit more damage early on.
I think Chakki could very well just pick the Warlock deck again because he's pretty confident now in his mill decks after he 3-0'd Kalento. So if he gets that one extra deck out of the way, he can move on to what he's feeling best with. But if he's stuck with the Warlock deck at the end, it would be a shame to win with all of the mill decks and then lose with his extra deck. So it seems like you might just want to try that out and get rid of it as early as possible.
Yeah. So, guys, we're going to go to a really quick 2-minute break. It will not be longer than that. And then we'll be resuming the series right away. So we'll be right back with Game 2 between Chakki and LifeCoach. All right, we're back. And, yeah, we're going to let the players know that we're good to go now. Are we, Bob? Nice. And the second match should be on its way.
Well, I would really like to see Chakki win with that Warlock deck so we could move on to the meat of the battle. It would be such a shame if the Chakki got shut out or something with the Warlock deck when that wasn't even really what was making him such a stellar performance in the tournament.
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely not the same concept as his other 3 decks. He's not going to be milling with those decks or fatiguing at all. So, or you know, with a Warlock deck. So, I'm not sure. Do you think if you're Chakki, do you even pick the Warlock deck again, or do you wait until maybe you have a matchup that you think is favorable for the Warlock deck?
I think
you know, like
you would probably
kind
want to try it at least one more time, but yeah, I'm not sure. It's a very tactical mindset that he's gone into it with, so it's tough to get a read on quite what he wants to do.
yeah, because if he feels very comfortable with the other 3 decks, then it may not be the worst idea to just kind of go and start taking everyone down, you know, and then just save the Warlock deck for last, or to see if it can, you know, if it can beat the remaining decks.
I was thinking about it. What is another class that you could actually mill with if he had wanted to bring 4 mill decks? Maybe Chakki just decided that there are not 4 successful mill decks.
I must protect the wild.
Do you think you could do it with Priest Cats? You're the Priest player.
No.
Yeah, it's tough to get that many mill decks all together. I mean, 4 classes. You couldn't do it with Hunter or anything, that's for sure. So
Yeah, I'm surprised he managed to do it with Warrior. So I mean, Druid and Rogue maybe the most obvious ones.
So Chakki did pick the...
Wait, what about Rogue? He's not playing Rogue, is he?
No, he's not playing Rogue.
Yeah, so Rogue is like the most obvious mill deck, right?
I mean, yeah, we've seen that in the past in previous Hearthstone times, but since the release of GVG, I don't think anyone's really made Mill Rogue too successful. So you're right that that's a possible one.
Yeah, but when we're talking about success, I mean, like Chakki is having success in this tournament, but we haven't seen those decks perform well before either. So you would have thought, like I would have thought, if I'm gonna make one mill deck, it would probably have to be the Rogue, right, or the Druid maybe.
I think the Rogue mill deck fits kind of a different strategy from what Chakki's other ones do. The Rogue mill deck is trying to also draw cards for the Rogue at the same time, so the Rogue can set up like a burst combo, whereas all the mill decks that Chakki has chosen have been just pure removal and going right to fatigue. The Rogue one is actually interested in making the opponent burn cards and get something useful of their own to win the game with.
Yeah, I mean, you could change it a little bit, right? Like the Rogue mill deck or Fatigue that doesn't necessarily run cards like Vanish, for example, but that could be, you know, Double Vanish could replace some of those combo game-ending moves.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
So we see Coin Wild Growth, Shade, and LifeCoach also has a Shredder, which means that he basically has the best opening you could ask for, at least for his early curve.
Basically one, man.
If he got a Innervate to Innervate Ancient of Lore or Dr. Boom, it is literally the strongest possible opening you could have as a Druid, so that would be interesting.
Yeah. And Chakki went for the same deck, by the way.
Yep.
Damn, this is really tough because it looks like a Twilight Drake turn, but we know that there's a Keeper of the Grove as well in LifeCoach's hand. So this is getting rough.
Yeah, it is a better turn to get silenced on because he only has 5 mana. He can't hero power the Drake as well, which means it will still trade with some creature. But yeah, it's not pleasant to get that silenced for a second game in a row.
Yeah, likely the Piloted Shredder. I very much doubt that LifeCoach is just going to ignore the Twilight Drake, right? Like, I really don't think so.
Yeah, I'm not sure. It depends on how much he prizes face damage here. I would agree that he should trade just because he doesn't have any part of the combo in his hand. So there's no reason to go too hard, but...
Yeah, so... Piloted Shredder going to be traded. It's going to be a Hyena, and that could actually be deceiving if you know, there's the Druid of the Claw is a beast, so a beast with taunt or I was going to call it haste, charge at that, so could very well trade and buff that Hyena and turn it from one of the worst 2-drops that you could get into a pretty good one.
That's pretty interesting. Most classes just see that as a 2/2, but yes, Druids do actually have a beast card, so it could be pretty game-changing if that occurred.
Chakki here trying to force the Shade to be revealed. We know he has a Silence in hand, so that may be part of the reason. He has 2 Silences in hand actually, but LifeCoach has a swipe and better plans than revealing his Shade just yet or making it lose any HP. So we're likely going to see the Keeper of the Grove take a hit here.
It's interesting. He could have played the Drake there and just not attacked, but maybe he feared some area of effect damage, killing everything at once then.
This has to start getting kind of worrisome for Mr. Chakki, as we're 3 turns away from 9, and the board is not looking like it's gonna get cleared anytime soon.
Yeah, he has another Sludge Belcher, but the last Sludge Belcher got dealt with so easily, and you're still seeing that shade and worrying how big is that going to get before I actually have a way to kill it.
Yeah, I mean, he has to try again, I suppose. The shade most likely will be revealed, but Dr. Boom very likely to come into play as well. He could also Ancient of Lore, but I think Dr. Boom would be just much more powerful to try and maintain that board presence that he's had throughout the game.
Yeah, I think both plays are pretty reasonable here. Getting the cards would move him closer to that combo because he doesn't really want to go all for it, and he's got the shade, so the combo's that killing move. But then, of course, yes, Dr. Boom is the star of the 7 drops. Such a heinous crime in Hearthstone that it's almost mandatory.
It's an heinous crime, dude. But he's gonna go for the lore, apparently. Skype lost Skype again. It's back. It's back. You're back, Dylan. Don't worry about it. Don't even worry about it, Dylan. You're good.
Well, not a lot he could innervate. He could attack the sludge and innervate hero power, I guess. So this is the one turn where Chakki could really get a lot of value. If he had Shadow Flame with the power overwhelming, he could turn the game around.
Yeah. Does he even run Shadow Flame? We haven't seen it in the last 2 games.
That's a good question.
Can he hope for a Shadow Flame draw here?
He does not run Shadow Flame. He has 2 Hellfires, no Shadow Flame.
I guess it kind of makes sense, as he does skip both of the or all of the giants in this deck, as well as both of the what do you call the 4/5 dude that can't attack?
The Ancient Watcher.
Ancient Watcher. I am the worst person at names ever.
There's a lot of names in Hearthstone.
Yeah, but like I always know exactly what I'm talking about. It's just like I can't figure out the name sometimes. So it's kind of my thing.
Yeah, man. Well, the Shadow Flame does work well in this deck just because he's playing power overwhelming anyways. I think right now Chakki wants to go face. Or at least start to face damage. He has almost the full burst combo. I'm not going to do it. If he can get LifeCoach to around 20 HP, then he doesn't need board control at all. He can just win with a bit of damage. But
yeah, unexpected damage as well, coming from nowhere. And LifeCoach not really drawing his part of the combo, so this is not looking too terrible for Chakki, at least compared. It's looking much less grim than previous turns. And LifeCoach has invested so many turns into not revealing the shade that I'm not even sure if he reveals it now or if he just waits for the combo to use that shade as lethal.
Yeah, it's getting to be a bit of a predicament. That shade is huge, so you don't want to reveal it.
What to do?
Without counting the shade, so it's getting a bit uncomfortable.
Yeah, exactly. So as much as his plan probably was something like, okay, I'm doing really, really well on the board. I can keep the shade hidden and just end the game with it. It might be changing here.
Would not surprise me for Dr. Boom.
Yeah. Dr. Brother. And again, I think I would have rather seen Dr. Boom played in the earlier turn. You would still get those cards now, but unless he was hoping to draw into combo, like, just into combo, like both cards of the combo, then I'm not sure that I like the lore play better than Dr. Boom. But of course, LifeCoach is one of the best players in the world, so he knows what he's doing.
Yeah, Dr. Boom is certainly strong here. I think you probably were just wanting to be greedy with that shade. It feels so strong. You want to use it as soon as you can to win the game. I thought Hellfire looked like a pretty good play here. It would have killed all of Chakki's creatures. I guess
Can't hear
Siphon.
Dylan again. You're back. What is Rob? Skype is being weird. So
Okay.
I'm sorry about that, Dylan.
It's
It
okay.
might happen again, but let's just ignore it next time, Robin. I guess. And see if it comes back.
As long as it doesn't last for more than a couple seconds, it's probably not a big deal.
Yeah.
No, this play works out pretty well for him. He could siphon the Dr. Boom, and then he still has a board, and there's only a shade.
Yeah, and with the little taunt in between as well, that's quite important potentially.
He would still die to combo here.
Yeah.
So by seeing that no combo is played this turn, Chakki, of course, is going to be quivering. Oh, man, it's going to kill me. By seeing it's not played this turn, he knows that it's not in hand yet.
Oh.
Very next card.
Yeah, next level, dude. So, I mean, the question still remains, how do you get rid of the shade, right? Like you said, he's dead to combo, and I don't see what he can do. I mean,
Well, he has.
does he have lethal himself? No, right? Let's see.
No, he only has one power overwhelming, so his damage right now would be 16. He has the heal bot, so I think if he was at full HP and there was only the
He can
shade.
do 20 damage, right? Counting the board.
Yes, he could do 20 damage. It takes all of his mana, though, so he can't draw anything else to improve that at the moment.
Yeah.
If he heals with the heal bot and he kills the Drake there, then he doesn't die to combo yet because he'll be at full health.
Yeah, and he has a combo of his own. Plus, you know, he has to account for 2 cards drawn from LifeCoach at this point. So, you know, you have to be worried about the combo. Like, LifeCoach hasn't been playing that many cards. He has to know at least a few of those cards are parts of the combo or something like an Innervate as well.
Well, it doesn't look like he has any way to kill the Azure Drake. The only thing I could see would be using the Arcane Golem on the Azure Drake. Chakki might take the risk here since he did die to combo last turn and he didn't die to it, so might just say, well, I guess he doesn't have it still.
Yeah, he will play the heal bot, but that's not going to be enough. He's still in combo range with that shade, correct?
Yeah, he's still dead.
So
It is
Rob
20.
I mean, LifeCoach is never gonna miss lethal, right? Like he's gonna count it 20 times, rope, and then let's see.
He gets 25 damage with just the shade, and then the Drake adds another 6, so it's 31 total damage. He could even innervate and hero power and do 32 total damage.
So Rob, get he knows. I was gonna say get the miss lethal graphic ready, but LifeCoach is too good.
Well, Chakki's certainly in a tough spot now. Down already 2 games, and he hasn't even started on trying the mill decks out.
Yeah, and this might be time to just switch over to the mill decks. 32 damage exactly if he had used Innervate for the hero power. So very good mathematics, quick mathematics, Dylan. Great job.
Oh, I feel for Chakki because it's the deck he doesn't even really need to play, right? It's the extra deck, and he's already had such a deficit starting with that it's going to be a long road to come back. He has overcome a worse deficit in the Tide series, but he still actually has to win with the Warlock deck, which has not been performing nearly as well as his other decks.
Yeah, it really hasn't, and we'll see if Chakki decides to switch it over to something else now. Or if he's going to stay with the Warrior deck for now, or the Warlock deck for now, and see if he can turn this around.
At least the Druid deck, being a combo Druid, it's stable, but it is one of the tougher things to go up with a fatigue match because they have so much burst potential that you have to clear the board very regularly. So what decks does LifeCoach actually have remaining? He has his Mage and his Warlock deck.
You cut out.
Can you hear me again?
Yeah.
LifeCoach has his Mage and Warlock deck, which probably are the most fatigable of the decks that he brought, but we'll have to see if that can actually be taken advantage of.
Indeed. Okay.
I wonder what's up with Skype.
I'm not sure. Skype is just being Skype today.
Yeah, Skype's always pretty crazy. It's one of those things that you have to use, but it's never quite as reliable as you wish it was.
Indeed. So we're waiting on the next match. We should be good to go in just a few seconds here, boys. Oh, LifeCoach stood up, so we're just waiting on him for him to get back, and then we should be good to go. He's back? He's back, so we should be starting in a second here. Which decks are they gonna bring? Do you like my I don't know where from accent?
I do that sometimes too. You just put on an accent, and it's just a fun way to talk.
Yeah, but it's just like where is that person from that I just did? You know, like
it's part of the mystery. Makes it more intriguing.
Yeah, it's pretty good, man.
So, really important to him if the Warlock deck is played again. All right, so Chakki chose a different deck. He's playing the Mill, which is probably a good choice at this point.
Yeah, I think so as well. And he's going to be going up against LifeCoach's Warlock this time around. So let's talk about LifeCoach's Warlock a little bit, Dylan.
All right, so LifeCoach's Warlock so far has only been shown in Rogue matches, I'm pretty sure. Both times it played, in both of his series, it played against a Rogue, and it won that match, so it never had to be played again. It was really successful versus Rogues, but it has a lot of the more medium-sized creatures, so I could see it being fatigued pretty easily. The one thing going for it is the Jiraxis, because obviously the Infernos are very, very strong in a fatigue-style match.
Yeah. All right, Void Walker is going to come down here on turn 1 for LifeCoach, so that's always nice to have either that or the Zombie Chows. Zombie Boys. He does have Zombie Chows, right?
Yeah, he does.
Yeah.
He plays quite a bit of early game just to make sure. It's more of a defensive early mid game deck with just a very, very small amount of late game.
Yeah. So Deathlord for Chakki, if he was paying attention before, is not going to be quite as scary playing it early on as it would be against a normal Warlock, right? Like where you could summon one of those giants and then you're kind of regretting it instantly. So
yeah, you're right. Also, LifeCoach's deck, many of the creatures are battle cries, things like Twilight Drake or the taunts, the silences. So there are a lot of things that can be pulled out of the Deathlord that are really, really bad value.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, just in general, Deathlord, probably not a card that he would play against a normal Warlock, right? Like, because then like turn 4, like we're getting to the turn where we can like see the rock giant. What's his name?
Mountain Giant.
Mountain Giant. Why is it not rock giant? It's made out of rock, right? Like I don't see a mountain when I see him. I see rock giant.
Probably a rock would be a golem, and it's a giant, so it's an actual living creature that was born in the mountains.
Wait, are golems not living creatures then?
Golems
are you being racist right now?
Golems are not living creatures. They are magically created by spells and whatnot that are animated by a living wizard normally, whereas a giant would be something that is actually has a society and is born into the world.
Do golems have conscience?
Yeah, like the ability to think. Normally they work similar to a computer would, where they could, you know, in some ways they think, but they don't have critical skills. Often, though, you do see that the game designers that use golems will take liberties on that matter, so it's not for sure.
So golems don't have feelings?
Yeah, generally golems don't have feelings. They're more automatons.
Okay. That's interesting. It's something that I did not know. I'm sure a lot of people were wondering about this in chat as well. Rob was confirming throughout. By the way, Rob is a big World of Warcraft fan, so as you started to talk, he was just nodding and being like, yeah, Dylan knows his golems. Dylan knows his golems.
Yeah, man.
So, guys, golems, if you see one on the street, feel free to kill it. Doesn't have feelings whatsoever. And you won't be considered racist, you know?
So we have a lot of, this is when Life Coach's deck is really getting into its strongest point, is these 5 to turn 8, when just all of his creatures are exactly what you want to be playing, and they're not going to get killed by anything valuable, such as a Flame Strike yet.
Yeah.
I will say that probably milling a Warlock is a little bit more fun for Chakki because he can be aggressive with the drawing cards because the Warlock is drawing anyways, so it just moves the game quicker and keeps the pace up. Rather than trying to wait for that perfect moment, he can just do it when he really needs cards.
Yeah, absolutely. And where Life Coach would be considering perhaps like tapping in a turn like this, like something like a tap Pilot or Shredder, he has to start getting rid of some of those cards. I mean, if Chakki draws into the second Cold Light Oracle and catches Life Coach with too many cards in the hand, that could be really dangerous for him.
Yeah, especially if... Oh, actually, I just thought of... Imagine if Jiraxxus was pulled out of the Death Lord. If Jiraxxus is used in any way that is not turning Life Coach into Jiraxxus, it would be very devastating. So either the Death Lord or by burning it up on a milled card would just be almost game-winning in a single play.
Sylvanas is going to be played, so nothing else can be played after Sylvanas, which means Life Coach is going to be at 7 cards for the time being. So Chakki couldn't really burn any cards if he even tried here, I don't think.
So this is when we get to see if Chakki was studying Life Coach's decks. If he had been paying attention, I'm pretty sure that's the largest creature. Yes. Oh, there is a Kel'Thuzad as well. But in terms of a polymorph, you would see that as basically the best polymorph target in the match. Doesn't seem like he wants to do it. I guess there's no real risk of Sylvanas stealing anything here, so he might as well just kill it later. But
yeah, probably finish off with a Frostbolt and save the polymorph in case the Kel'Thuzad does come out. I very much doubt that Chakki hasn't done his homework, so I think it's just a calculated play here. He knows that the Sylvanas is likely to attack onto the Death Lord. And in turn, I mean, Life Coach played the Sylvanas in the first place because, he knows that Chakki's deck doesn't run a lot of threats. It's not going to get much more value later on because Chakki doesn't win with the board.
Yep. He probably suspects that it's duplicate. You don't really want to give him a Death Lord. Ancient Watcher, that's pretty reasonable. It's just something you would play anyways, and it's not wasteful, so I'm sure Life Coach is happy about that one.
You think so? Yeah, maybe he is.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, pulling Argus or Jiraxxus, there are so many worse things that you couldn't allow to be placed on the board on not getting the Battlecry effect.
Yeah, at the same time, there are other more expensive minions that potentially could have been pulled out. Someone like a Sludge Belcher would have been really nice.
Yeah, I guess there's one more. Sludge Belcher. Life Coach has drawn a lot of his actually good creatures. He's missing the Kel'Thuzad and the piloted Shredders, but he has a lot of 1-drops and whatnot in this deck.
So yeah, we'll see a few worse turns, I guess, coming up for Life Coach drawing those cards. In the meanwhile, we're expecting a Frostbolt onto Sylvanas here, most likely, followed by what I do not know.
Well, he has
How are you feeling?
He has the Death Lords now. The thing is, he doesn't have any area of effect damage. If he was sitting on a Flame Strike, I think playing both Death Lords would be a very good play here, just to make sure there's a lot of creatures and then you kill it all at once. But
that is a good point, yeah.
Without having the AoE, he's not going to have very good choices.
Yeah.
I think that Life Coach's deck, because it has a single owl. So if the Doomsayer comes down and that owl is not present, there is one Siphon Soul as well. So there's a couple ways to kill a Doomsayer, but I could see a Doomsayer being very game-changing in this match.
And you face Jiraxxus, the Lord is a Burning Legion, dude. He talks so funny. I can never understand Jiraxxus there. Siphon Soul used on a Death Lord, of course, something that you would very rarely see if again, this deck wasn't something that runs very few threats on the board, or minions.
Yeah, that was a very aggressive play because there are other things like the Doomsayer to siphon, and if you look at LifeCoach's hand, he's not got any way to stop a Doomsayer.
Yeah, I mean, two of his minions on the board have Death Rattle, so that's gonna make him feel a little bit better about something like a Doomsayer play. But yeah, you're right. I bet he would rather Siphon Soul that.
Taunt's not exactly doing a lot in this matchup. Chakki doesn't even care about the Ancient Watchers at all. It's pretty much just a non-existent creature on the board.
Mm-hmm. So, Dylan, tell me, how does polymorph work when you're transformed into a sheep?
Sorry?
Like a mage knocks on your door, right? And you're like, hey, who's that? And it's like, oh, I just wanted to ask you if you wanted to come to church. And you open the door and it's a mage and he polymorphs you. What happens to you then? Do you still...
Well, it seems in every way you become that sheep. In some iterations of it, the sheep would be a temporary effect. But for the Hearthstone example, you would actually become in all ways a sheep. Ideal type of sheep that the person casting the polymorph would have envisioned, and they would turn you into that, and no former trace of you will be left.
Wow. So it basically kills you instantly. It's
yeah, pretty much. It kills you and replaces you.
Yeah, it replaces you with an animal, but you cease to exist. So, damn, that's deep. I thought you would keep your thoughts and kind of just like, you know.
That would kind of be worse, wouldn't it? If then you'd be like all sad about being a sheep, having lived a better life. Wow, you faced Jiraxxus.
The Lord of the Burning Legion, dude.
So, I do kind of like this play. He's at 15 HP, which makes him, risk to damage, but Chakki has no real damage. And then the Infernos are just so hard to stop. For the next 14 turns or whatnot, he can summon Infernos. It could be very game-winning.
The weapon as well. There's nothing that's gonna freeze that weapon from, and prevent the LifeCoach from putting some damage to the face soon here. So yeah, I actually do like that play as well. If you're playing a freeze mage though, then that's the last thing that you want to do ever is Jiraxxus. But against a fatigue mage, I don't think Chakki even has any burst, does he?
Nope, just frost bolts. There's a lot of Ancient Watchers this match, eh? We got Ancient Watchers galore. One just came out of the shredder.
So we'll see what Chakki's play is. That's a play to applaud LifeCoach and his decision making. It's not a play that you think of right away. It's a surprising play, not something that everyone would do, and then he goes for it. And I like it.
It looks like Chakki would probably echo here, which I like a lot. He knows he has to speed the game up. There's no way he can contend with that hero power. But if he gets the fatigue started on Jiraxxus, of course, with only 15 health, he'll die.
Kel'Thuzad sad here. That's scary. But we know that Chakki does have a polymorphing hand, and it will indeed turn Kel'Thuzad into a sheep forever and ever.
Actually, I'm kind of like Lotheb here. I'm not sure if there's a specific moment that you want to save Lotheb for that's better than this, but he's going to start summoning Infernos, and then he could just force the next turn to take so much damage that...
There's a good point. We might still see it. He does taunt the creatures on the board here.
Huh? Oh, Mortal Coil.
Do you think he messed up for a second there?
Yeah, I thought he would use his weapon to kill that.
And then it was unnecessary to attack with a Sun Fury if that had been the case. Harrison Jones, a pretty good creature to come out of that Death Lord. And yeah, I think we have to see a Lotheb here. I mean, look at that board.
But if he plays Lotheb, he's not using the hero power, which feels kind of wasteful. That's really what you want to use every turn as Jiraxxus. A 6/6 for 2 mana.
Yeah, I wouldn't. I think Lotheb. I think I would rather have the effect of Lotheb this turn than the hero power.
Yeah, it's what he went for. So the board looks really scary, but a lot of those are just Ancient Watchers. There's roughly 14 plus 5, 19 damage on the board, so it would be lethal next turn with the attack from Jiraxxus.
Yeah. So what can Chakki do here?
Healbot probably would be Healbot Deathlord.
Yeah, that could work. Healbot Sludge Belcher works as well.
Yep. It doesn't really, deal with the problem at all. It's just saving him from dying this turn.
Yeah. Actually, Sludge Belcher and Deathlord. I'm not sure. Like, you feel like even with the board as full as it is, it kind of prevents potential infernos if he doesn't trade himself, right?
Yeah, those Ancient Watchers are really getting in the way right now.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of choices.
Lots and lots of choices indeed. Shadow Flame is a great draw as well. I think we might see a Shadow Flame into one of the Ancient Watchers. I wouldn't mind that too much. I mean, the taunt, like we mentioned before, is almost useless in this matchup.
Yeah, I like that play a lot. He's still he frees up his own board. So there are 8 cards left in LifeCoach's deck, soon to be 7 cards, when he kills the Deathlord.
Yeah.
And there's 1 Cold Light Oracle in Chakki's hand, so it's pretty painful still.
Yeah, I really like what LifeCoach is doing as well, saving or going face with a weapon rather than trading it for minions, just playing as safe as possible, just really being cautious and responsible with his HP on Jaraxxus.
Well, it's looking pretty bad. He can freeze. He won't die this turn. He could do like a freeze and an ice block, but just the Jaraxxus weapon alone is really putting on the pain. Even if no creature's attacked, he will die eventually.
Yeah, the one nice thing about the freeze here is that LifeCoach wouldn't be able to play anything else. Actually, his only freeze is Blizzard, so scratch that. 2 of those minions will die, and allow LifeCoach to play 2 additional creatures here.
He does have the Doomsayer in his hand now after that Murloc. If he picks up another freeze to use with the Doomsayer, I'm pretty sure that succeeds unless LifeCoach happens to draw the Owl right away. There are 4 cards left, so he would have a 1 in 4 chance to get the Owl next turn. Yeah. Do you think he plays Kel'Thuzad here?
I don't know, Harry.
Because if he plays Kel'Thuzad now, he probably knows that Kel'Thuzad would die, but then his board would not be able to die at the same time.
That is a good point. Because, of course, Polymorph and Flamestrike are not being, you can't play them on the same turn.
It looks like he's considering hitting the Murloc there, but I'm not sure if that's too important. He has a taunt up anyways.
Yeah, I'm not sure, especially with no burst. I mean, even if he got past that taunt, he would... I guess he just wants to use the Farseer, or thinks that the Farseer is a good option here. But yeah, I'm not playing the Kel'Thuzad, so LifeCoach playing this very patiently, very methodically.
There's a second Doomsayer. I didn't know that he had a second Doomsayer.
Is Chakki cheating? Are you saying Chakki's cheating right now?
I'm clicking on the deck right now. Oh no, he has 2 Doomsayers. All right.
Jesus Christ, Dylan.
Scared you there, right?
Accusing Chakki of cheating. Like, look at him. This guy. Look at him. Look at him. Oh, you can't look at him.
No, I can't look at him today.
I can see him on the stream. He is not cheating. I can read his face.
He's pretty dead right now.
He's the perfect human being.
He can put up the ice block and use the explosive sheep to kill 2 of the creatures, but he hasn't drawn any flame strikes, no frost nova, no cone of cold even.
Yeah. Ice block and duplicate. Nope. Just a double Doomsayer. What is this? What's gonna... Explosive sheep. Chakki just teasing us. Okay. Okay, so he's willing to get popped here, and really wants the explosive sheep duplicated.
There was no way to avoid getting popped here.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think he can win. He could draw like Frost Nova and Healbot, but because once he's at 1 HP, he can't play Alexstrasza. There's too much on the board, and the Jiraxxus weapon will just be able to hit him if he was to like clear with the sheeps.
Yeah, LifeCoach down to 3 cards only, by the way, but that's not gonna cut it.
That Jiraxxus is really the play in this match. I mean, if that had been pulled out by the Deathlord, then it would have been so much easier, or if that had been milled away at some point later in the game. But he drew it, what, turn 10 or something. It was very close to the opening that he had it almost right on time with what he needed.
Yeah. And there's going to be a lot of sheeps that, essentially be a flame strike for 6 mana, I guess.
Is his hand full right now? He had Chakki's hand.
The Chackster has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
Okay, well, it's pretty important.
There's the flame strike. Can the Chackster survive here? I don't see a way.
No, I don't see a way either. Double explosive sheep, but then he hero powers and he doesn't have enough for 5 mana. Single explosive sheep, hero power. He's left with 2 infernals and the weapon attack, so sludge or healbot are not enough.
Yeah, the Chackster knows it and he's gonna concede. So with that, LifeCoach going 3-0 in the finals, and potentially match point coming up very shortly here. So
damn. LifeCoach's final deck is a mage deck. It's a mech mage deck. It has pretty standard mech mage cards. He has 1 Kezan Mystic and 1 Piloted Sky Golem. It's kind of the interesting things. No Azure Drakes.
Yeah, the Chackster knows this, of course. So what do you do if you're Chakki now? Do you go for the warrior?
Well, I don't think it matters what you pick. You have to be able to beat this mage deck with every single one of your decks. So
that is true, but you wanna start like coming back, right?
I guess.
Or do you just say, let's go with the deck that has the least possibility of winning, and then if I win with that deck, you know what, the comeback is real. What would you think in his shoes? I mean, he's already made it to the finals. It's not like he has anything to prove, right? Like,
yeah, I would like to see him pick the one he thinks is most successful, but I don't think there's really a big issue with what decks he picks here, just because he knows he has to win with every single one of them. The outcome would be the same at the end. Bit unfortunate, though, to be down 0-3 so quickly. Here we had hyped it up as a long series, and LifeCoach might just make a clean sweep.
Yeah, Rob from production reminds me, guys, there is a raffle for a graphics card. It is tell me the numbers, Rob. Numbers. R9290X from AMD. So, it is from AMD, right? Like, yeah, it is. Yeah, thank Jesus. So, if you guys want to win the graphics card, then, just go on my on the stream page, on my stream page, there's a just under here, there's a banner that you can click on, and it will take you to a website that will explain you how you can enter, and there's multiple ways that you can get more chances to win. For example, by following us and them on Twitter, checking out their Facebook page, just simple stuff like that. It takes probably a couple minutes tops, and you could win a really, really good graphics card. So check them out, and that's of course brought to you by CyberPower PC and AMD. Mage versus Mage is gonna be the matchup, by the way, but could be game point, match point, whatever you want to call it.
I think this is a good call. The Fatigue Mage has probably one of the stronger matchups in this case. The Fatigue Mage and the Warrior are likely the strongest decks here. The Mill Druid will be very difficult to beat the Mech Mage with, just because the Mech Mage will have very few cards in their hand, so you never get that opportunity to give them cards and not just be having given them power all the time. It's not going to mill them. So
Yeah, that is a very good point. Meg mages, man, I hate him. Piloted Sky Golem. There's that's something that we don't see in every mage deck. A mech mage.
yeah, he has the one Pilot Sky Golem for like an interesting card, as well as one Kezid Mystic, which could actually play a really big role in this match.
Oh, huge potentially. Huge.
There are a lot of things that go for the more defensive mage in this style of matchup. First of all, the Mirror Entity works for the Fatigue Mage because the Explosive Sheep and Doomsayer both hurt the person when they're Mirror Entitied. And also just the freezes into Flame Strike can be really potent because most of the creatures that a Mech Mage will play have very low health.
Yeah. And Cogmaster, of course, is the fiery war axe of mech mages. Every mech mage draws Cogmaster every time in the first or second turn. Most likely the first, of course. And then, yeah, Northshire Cleric is the priest, the priest version of that. Doomsayer coming down really soon, and I like this because, you know, there's it's just gonna not only kill the Cogmaster, but also prevent you from playing any additional minions this turn. So, hero power face, what do you think?
Oh, I'm not sure I like this because he had the Explosive Sheep anyways, right? So he knew he could kill the Cogmaster on a future turn, but I guess he knows what he's doing. It's just the Doomsayer with a freeze against a Mech Mage. The only way to stop that is a Fireball. So if they don't have a Fireball, or even if they do, you're at least taking away damage by using it on a later turn.
Yeah, of course. But at the same time, I mean, you have to account for damage on the board, right? With Doomsayer.
Yeah,
So.
I think, wow, drawing the Deathlord made that an amazing play now. Before, it was like, what was he going to play? Murloc, and then, I don't know, it doesn't do that much. But having an actual turn 3, having forced his opponent not to play anything, just became so much more powerful.
Yeah. So regains board control, something that Chakki's deck is not necessarily meant to do in any matchup, really, and against a Mech Mage of all people, and that's going to be pretty great news for him.
Well, Spider Tank's not too bad. Chakki could just deal with it, or he could ignore it for now and wait to clear it all later. There aren't a lot of things that are pulled out of the Deathlord that you don't want to see in this match. Maybe the Blast Mage, or if Archmage came on a really early turn, I suppose it could die easier. But generally, the Mech Mage creatures are just actual creatures, so...
Frostbolt hero power seems like the only play, really. Would you have considered anything else this particular turn?
You could consider just leaving it, because he does have the Explosive Sheep to get some more value, and then the...
Right. But then what do you do with it? I mean, what do you do that turn? Nothing? Just hero power it for one?
Yeah, I guess, because the Deathlord would soften up the Spider Tank to die to the Explosive Sheep, and then it could probably also trade with what was played next turn. But it looks like Chakki really values the Sheep a lot in this match, so he probably has a specific play in mind.
Okay. Piloted Shredder. Pretty good against Deathlord. Of course, almost nothing. He's going to just one-shot at Deathlord, but this guy two-shots it and his baby survives to tell the tale. Or, yeah.
Yeah, especially if you got something with 4 attack out of the Shredder, because right now you could hero power the Shredder to make sure it dies.
Yeah, if you get Millhouse Mana Storm, that's the dream.
So he saved that coin this whole way. It would not surprise me to see a Sky Golem come out just because it's the fattest creature. He wants to get that down a little early.
Yeah. Oh, it's going to be a Blast Mage. A little bit surprising. Because, okay, I guess it was just hoping to maybe hit the Belcher once if he wants to trade with the Belcher, but...
Yeah, I don't know. It was a little strange. Because he saved the coin, right? And you could use the coin with the Archmage, actually. It would be really strong.
Yeah, maybe that's what he's aiming for. But it seemed like Piloted Sky Golem would have been a really powerful turn there.
Using the coin with the Archmage can be really nice because not only do you draw the Fireball, but you get the to use an extra spell, like a spare part, because you've gained some mana, so it can often be 2 extra fireballs for just saving that.
Yeah, absolutely. Or even if it's as late as turn 10, you can just use that fireball and recycle it.
Chakki's doing a really good job of keeping up on the board, but it's not actually what you need in this match. You're never going to win with creatures. You just need to make sure you're not dying. So he is using up a lot of cards to maintain his board presence.
Yeah. And I mean, he's not dying, right? So that's the good news. He's gonna have to call that Oracle soon, though, if he's running short on answers. And of course, the Polymorph is a fantastic draw because we know that the piloted Sky Golem could be coming soon here from LifeCoach, if not this turn, and you know that's probably gonna get polymorphed.
Yeah. So he drew the Cloak Field, by the way, which is now making the Archmage even stronger. We have
Gross.
Archmage coin Cloak Field for when he gets it, which would be absolutely insane.
The dream, some would call it. Yeah, if he get it's something. Spider Tank is gonna come out of the Deathlord summoning.
So what could you do to stop the...
Okay, just going to try and regain that board presence. Rob just gave me a thumbs up out of nowhere, so apparently there was a thumbs up, a thumbs down in between that I missed, and but we had the thumbs up now, so we're good.
Thanks. Rob just feeling good today, I guess.
Rob in a good mood, man, talking about them golems and stuff.
What to do?
Well, both players have used up some damage already. I mean, seeing a fireball out of LifeCoach means that you don't have to worry about threats nearly as much. You can be more secure playing something like a second Doomsayer. The Archmage.
Yeah, this is not looking too good for Chakki anymore. He draws into the Ice Block and Blizzard that are not really going to do too much for him right now.
No. I bet he still feels okay with this, but yeah, the Archmage stealth specifically is so strong because he's sitting with a polymorph. He could stop it and, you know, big game hunter for Dr. Boom. It looks like you have the setup you need, but as soon as it becomes invisible, you all of a sudden are going to take a lot of damage and be taking more damage, even if you can kill it after.
Yeah, of course he's saving the big game hunter for Dr. Boom. That's the only target that's he's going to be able to use it on, but it's pretty much on every mage, so.
Do we finally see piloted Sky Golem?
He's neglected, man. There he is. I mean, he's about to get polymorphed, but does it matter? Does it matter indeed? I mean, next turn, I think we just see the Archmage Cloakfield. And that's the cool thing about Cloakfield as well. Like, sometimes maybe you would wait to use 2 spare parts on turn 9, maybe not play the Archmage on turn 8, but with Cloakfield, there's just not much your opponent can do.
Yeah, it is just such a strong play. I mean, maybe you could argue he should wait 1 extra turn to get the reversing switch, because if you stack up the fireballs, it's a little more potent. But I think it'll be so tempting. You just almost have to go for it.
Yeah, I think he does. I mean, you're still most likely gonna get used to to use the reversing switch the turn after, right?
Yep.
Oh, really?
Well, I mean, he even saw like a polymorph and a freeze with no Doomsayer. It seems to me like everything is saying.
Did he play a minion? Does he think maybe this could be a mirror entity or something? And,
no, it's certainly not mirror entity.
Right. So yeah, I don't know why he wouldn't play the Archmage here, right? Then again, LifeCoach is a god of mathematics. So if he doesn't play it, I'm sure there's a good reason for it. We'll leave it up to Dylan, the professional Hearthstone player here, to try and figure that out.
Thanks. I mean, if you play the Archmage here, it's just so good because it's protecting your other creatures too. Even if he somehow had a way to deal with the Archmage when it was stealthed, which he doesn't, of course, there is nothing that you could do to that. he doesn't have a way to clear the board at the same time. That would just be even more impossible. So I don't know. Looks like he wants to save it though. I guess he does get to maybe stack up to like a Frostbolt Cloakfield.
Doesn't even play the Annoyatron either. I guess he was concerned about a Flame Strike potentially, because I mean he does play the minion with the Death Rattle, right? Like he's the only one that's gonna survive the Flame Strike. But of course, an Archmage with the Cloaking Field would also survive the Flame Strike. So I'm not sure. Not sure why he wouldn't play it, but whatever the case.
Chakki's got to be happy about it at least right now. This looks pretty nice for him. He just killed everything. There's 2 spare parts in LifeCoach's hand, so he only has 4 actual cards, which means they'd be tied on cards roughly.
Yeah, Chakki has to be feeling decent about it, but at the same time, those spare parts are about to turn into fireballs. So
do you think he waits one more turn and does like Archmage Frostbolt Cloak?
Hells no. Are you kidding? He's gonna wait another turn.
Wow.
I don't get it though. But like with the Cloaking Field, when you be able to play those spells regardless.
Yeah. Another Flame Strike. Well, that's a great draw for Chakki. He might just use it again. Now LifeCoach's hand is 3 spare parts and 2 real cards, which even if he was to draw, even if both of those cards were creatures and he drew another creature, 3 creatures would be like Blizzard Explosive Sheep. You got a backup. Probably he has some type of spell.
Yeah, and with this board getting cleared and no other minions on LifeCoach's hand as well, it's very likely that he'll end up reversing switches Antonidas and in turn making it a target for Big Game Hunter. So I think you're just pinging Flame Strike here. I mean, he knows it's spare parts, and at this point he has to be getting worried about Antonidas, because why haven't you been using those spare parts, right? So
well, yeah, you're definitely always worried about Antonidas. There's no question. That's the play that you're saying, boy, I hope that's at the bottom of his deck.
Antonio, man. Antonio is the kind of mage that will polymorph you, just like not thinking about it twice. Like he looks like a polymorph kind of guy, right? Like not a Flame Strike kind of guy or a Fireball kind of guy.
Yeah, he does kind of look like a polymorph.
Like a polymorph kind of guy, right?
Yeah.
So Cloaking Field and Frostbolt Aroni. So he's not going to give him the BGH target. I like that, but...
All right, so... I mean, it looks pretty bad for Chakki. If he blizzards, he doesn't die next turn. You can do 13 damage with 2 fireballs and hero power. You could do 18 damage if the Archmage is allowed to attack. But like, even if you freeze it, you're going to take 2 fireballs, and LifeCoach is still going to have at least 2 fireballs in his hand. So,
but it's going to be... I mean, he knows the other 2 cards are spare parts as well, so he has to account for 4 fireballs. So 6 fireballs, right? 6 fire... Oh, 4...
Yeah.
No, 4 fireballs. 6 fireballs. 4 fireballs?
4 fireballs. He would cast 2, but he would have 4 left in his hand.
He would cast 2... No, it would be 6 fireballs total. Because he casts 2, he gets refunded those 2, and then there's the 2 spare parts, making it a total of 6 fireballs, right?
When he casts the fireball, they're not in his hand anymore. He would have 4 fireballs in his hand. He would have a total of 6. But he didn't blizzard, so right now his ice block gets popped this turn.
Yeah.
I think he's just kind of, all right, it's not going to work.
Yeah, and I think with this, man, it's looking like LifeCoach is going to sweep this finals. We thought it would be the lengthiest finals of all time, seeing as Chakki's decks and LifeCoach ropes every turn. So we thought this finals would go on forever, but it's not looking good for the Chakster. I'm not sure if he can do anything to get back into this, actually. I don't think there is.
I would mention that in the first 2 matches against the Warlock, LifeCoach actually very rarely roped. There was only a couple turns where he did. Most turns, he just played right away. Maybe he also felt like the series could take a long time, and he didn't really want to wait that long.
Yeah, maybe he knew. Oh. So it is LifeCoach's turn. He's just thinking about how to kill the Chakster here. I wouldn't be surprised if both spare parts were used.
I would be surprised if both spare parts were used, because that would require using a reversing switch, or using the time rewinder, which would take...
Yeah, but you attack and then you attack and You can use both, right? No? I think it's not.
I think you just don't want to take it off the board because it's still a threat. But yeah, it looks, it's pretty over. Well, I mean, I would have liked a bit of a longer series, but...
You win this one, says Chakki, and with that, LifeCoach is the champion of the Root Gaming Invitational. What a game. Dylan, I'm sorry I cut you there, but holy crap, man. That was just some exciting Hearthstone right there to end the day. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, well, honestly, I think it could have been a little better. The shutout in the finals is a bit, but it was really good games by LifeCoach. I mean, he knew exactly what he was doing. He prepared for each of those matches. The early deficit with the 2 losses using the Warlock deck for Chakki, I think, really set the tone of the series, that it was tough to make good picks, and you'd probably feel frustrated just after the deck you didn't even use in your other series was now putting you at such a disadvantage. But it was really good Hearthstone regardless.
Yeah, so with that, LifeCoach is going to walk away with $1,000 because he really needs it, right? And then the Chakster, I think, walks away with $500. But congratulations to LifeCoach. It makes me really happy to see him perform. He's actually a really nice guy, and really deserves some more recognition than he usually gets. He's a very mathematical person, I'm told, and very... he ropes every turn. It's kind of his thing. Seriously, so big props to him. Happy for him, and congratulations to the Chakster, of course, for really bringing new stuff to the table and kind of innovating a little bit, and perhaps showing us a different approach than what everyone else brought to this format, and doing quite well with it, taking it all the way to the finals.
Yeah.
So.
It wouldn't surprise me to see that style played again using the mill decks. I think it could certainly have gone the other way if a couple of things had worked out differently in those matches. Each match was pretty close. The final match didn't look too close, but that was because the Archmage. Had the Archmage not been there early, the game would have been way different. Chakki was having no problems clearing the board, so it could have succeeded.
If you think about it, it doesn't even have to be mill decks. It could be any type of deck, as long as it's 3 or 4. Well, in BlizzCon, I think it's best of 5. So as long as it's 3 decks of the same concept, then I think that's the strategy that Chakki went for, and they can't hear me. Now they can. So how much did they hear? Oh my god, my analysis was just insane. It
was good analysis, Cats. I'm sorry you got cut off.
Huh? The last sentence? Okay, well, you guys get what I'm saying, but like 3 decks of the same type are going to be pretty powerful in this format potentially, because, if your opponent doesn't have... if one of your opponent's decks cannot beat that style of play, then they're going to lose no matter what. So...
yeah,
we could go for a quick interview with LifeCoach if you would like, Dylan.
Sure. I can't actually see anything, but I'd be fine to talk with him if you want.
Yeah, let's do that. Let's bring him in here.
Okay. Yeah, that was a really good tournament, though. I mean, there were a lot of great games in this tournament, so if you guys want to go back and watch the VODs, I highly recommend it. It was just stacked with the top players and amazing players through and through. There was no one that you would say didn't deserve a spot, so great games for the entire tournament, really.
Yep. And Rob added him to the call with Dylan as well. LifeCoach, that is.
I don't see him in the call.
He didn't pick up yet, or Rob didn't click the call button. Or is it Dylan?
Oh, okay.
There we go.
Okay, now.
Hey.
Hello.
Hey, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. Rob, can the stream hear him fine? Yep. That's excellent. So congratulations, Adrian, on winning. Now we're going to ask a few questions here. So first and foremost, I'll ask my question, Dylan. Please, come on, Dylan. What did you think of Chakki's approach to the tournament? It was definitely kind of interesting.
It's interesting. It beats Rogue. Like I mean, I guess that was his idea, right? I mean, I guess his idea was that, especially Colento. I mean, he was actually preparing for Colento, right? And he was thinking that Colento will for sure bring Rogue, and his lineup is insanely good against Rogue because Rogue relies on the cards, and if you can actually fatigue Rogue, like with all of his decks, it should have been not any, and actually was no problem at all to fatigue Rogue easily. So I guess if your opponent plays Rogue in his lineup, it's a great lineup from Chakki.
Yeah, that is a great answer actually.
Like he cannot win. He cannot win with Rogue, right? So he automatically wins if his opponent brings Rogue.
So I had two major questions for you. The first was, did you study the previous games that Chakki had played to be prepared for this final series?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. Do you have a rough estimate of how much you put into studying those? Did you look at the Tides of Time games or just the Colento series?
All games and all.
Yeah, it was smart to prepare for it since he was bringing such a interesting strategy. The second question was about the Warlock deck that you brought. It seemed like a really interesting Warlock deck with almost no spells in it. I was wondering if you've used that on ladder, or what do you think that matches up well against?
Okay, I bring this to all tournaments where my opponent can actually prepare. I mean, it's not or in general also. I mean, like it's simply like very, very strong, especially if people actually, because I'm known for playing actually handlock, people, because I've played handlock like for the last 2 months or something, they actually prepared for me and against me with BGHs, and then this is of course very nice. I don't think in terms of strengths it's weaker. So it's like if I think my opponent will probably bring BGHs, I just go with this deck for sure. It's so much stronger. And if I don't think that my opponent will prepare at all, then I still have the choice. I mean, depending on the meta, I will then bring either handlock or this deck, whereas I really love this deck, like with the Jaraxxus and stuff like it. I would say, I simply like it so much, especially because like at the moment, if you play Warlock, usually it's always handlock, so people will keep the BGHs in their hand and sometimes even play around Molten Giants. And if they do either of that, which they usually do nowadays, this deck should be stronger than handlock. Yeah.
It seemed like you, in the tournament, you used that Warlock deck twice against Rogues, and it was a very decisive series. Both times you beat Rogues with it. Do you intentionally use that deck going into the match thinking you'll play a Rogue, or is it just a strong pick that you happen to get against Rogues?
Okay. Yeah, it's both. It's both basically, but I didn't pick it exactly. Like, it's not that easy to say, okay, my opponent will now go Rogue for sure. I mean, yes. I'm not the mind reader after all, right? So it's...
Well, you do a pretty good job. I mean, you certainly were prepared for that series. The Paladin was a great pick right off the start, and then you put Chakki at that 2-0 deficit, which just gave you such a good leg up to make good picks for the rest of it.
Mm-hmm. Can you just, my wife just, no, can you repeat this?
I didn't really ask a question. I just made a statement, so your answer was good.
Okay, perfect. Okay.
Answer, yeah. Dylan, do you have any more questions? Because like the only question I have for you, Adrian, is did you know that golems do not have feelings whatsoever?
The
golems? You know golems?
Yeah.
They don't have feelings. They're not.
Yeah, of course they don't. But I don't.
You knew this?
Well,
apparently it's common knowledge, but yeah, that was as deep as my questions go. So Dylan, take it away.
All right, let's see. So what other? You didn't bring the Paladin deck in any of the previous series, but it did seem like a really strong deck for you. Is there a reason that you left it out to the end, or did you just think that it wasn't quite as well rounded as your other decks?
Okay. Yeah. Well, actually, one round was against Forzen, and I thought that he would. I thought he would bring like warrior more. I thought he would bring rogue. That was the idea, and so I left actually Paladin out because I thought Paladin should not be a good choice. Not that much. Never mind. It's probably like I don't think that Paladin is one of the strongest classes. So it's usually my third or my fourth pick, and in this series it was my fourth pick. it's not so much brain power to it.
Yes, I agree with you that there were a lot of rogues, and that Paladin's weakest match is normally rogues. That's a really smart perspective. I think that was all my questions. So congratulations to you, LifeCoach. Really good series. You certainly showed your prowess at this point in the battle.
I think I showed like directly between the games, like before the winners interview. I just took a short look in the stream too, and you talked about the Archmage that we shouldn't like. We should like play him immediately and not delay him. Just a short thought to that. So if you bring him and so it's actually clear that you will draw him at some point because of the card draw you get, and it's also clear that you will have a lot of spare pots. So if you play him turn 8 into Conceal, you will draw 1 Fireball with a Conceal, and next turn you will probably play double Fireball or something, and perhaps will also have the opportunity to play 1 spare pot with a 2 Fireballs. So you will actually draw 2 additional Fireballs with other cards than Fireballs. Okay. If you play in turn 10, like with 10 mana, you get 1 Fireball with a Conceal, you convert 1 spare part. Okay, these were unlucky spare parts, but usually you convert 1 spare part, you convert a second spare part. Next turn, you can play double Fireball, and you can Frostbolt / play. It's like you get 4 to 5 Fireballs instead of 1 to 2. If that makes sense.
Yeah, I think that was a good analysis. Just to maybe address the point you made there. The reason I think it might have been stronger, obviously we could see that what Chakki's hand was, but at the point when you could have played Archmage Stealth, you had 3 other creatures on the board, so it looked like it would have been impossible to deal with those creatures and prevent the Archmage from attacking as well, so that it would be more powerful. But I do like your analysis that you want to get as many Fireballs, because that's really your win condition, so that seems smart.
It's just like he will probably be able to handle him like after the turn. It's not about the state's turn, but it's about the turn afterwards. But okay, I also hear your point. Yeah, probably, but whatever. Okay, so thank you very much. And no, it's definitely a viable point you have to for sure. And thank you very much for the tournament. I really appreciate that, and I also great casting. To the opponents, I also have to say like. I think that like this swipe from what like the 4-0 swipe obviously was also pretty lucky too. I mean that's for sure. Like it's you cannot make like 4-0 swipes. So I think like I mean it's not only about this match but also like the matches before. Like for example against Fortnite, I also like it was super close. It was 3-2. And I guess you need both. Like I guess you need skill and luck to ship a tournament like this. So
definitely. Huge fan of yours, LifeCoach. Of course, last but not least, would you like to give any shout outs? Anything like that?
Shout outs. Yes, to Strife Crow. He really played very well in the half finals against me. So that's a big plus for him.
Alrighty. Nihilum. Okay.
I guess. Okay.
All right, perfect. So congratulations, and thank you very much for playing. You're an awesome dude, and I'm a huge fan of yours. So
okay, thank you very much.
Hope to see you around, and maybe next time too.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Oh, that was
what
nice.
a great guy. He is a life coach, of course. If you want life lessons, he's quite expensive. But otherwise, I think we just got some life lessons for free on how to play Archmage Antonidas. I guess that's more like Hearthstone lessons. But either way, you guys, thank you very much for watching and sticking around. Dylan?
Yeah, thank you very much for having me, Cats. It's been an honor casting this tournament. What a great tournament it was in the end. I mean, things were a little rocky at the start, but it ended up really well. We got to see some game-defining tactics. We got to see some great series, and I'm sure I'll be interested to do it again with you if you will have me back.
Of course, Dylan. That was like, yeah, of course we'll in a second.
Plug myself.
Yeah, please plug yourself, plug your Twitter, plug everything so everyone can follow you, your stream.
Yeah, so you can follow me on Twitter at Dylan, aka Hots, and I will give you updates about when I'm streaming there. I won't be streaming today. I have been streaming a lot for the past week, so I need a day off. I'll take this tournament as my stream today, but I will be back again tomorrow. So if you guys want to check out my stream, it's twitch.tv/hotform, and I'd be happy to have you.
Yeah, Hotform, of course, legend player for pretty much every season since Hearthstone came out. So he is quite the boss, and you guys should definitely check out his stream and follow him on Twitter. As of for me, my stream is where you are right now, so just click the follow button if you like what you see. And yeah, follow me on Twitter as well, at RootCats. Thank you very much. Huge thanks to Twitch TV for making this tournament possible, as well as the rest of our sponsors, of course, TT Esports. It cut out, but I was saying Cyber Power PC as well, TT Esports, and of course AMD. It is not too late to try and get that graphics card. Which numbers escape me right now? R9290X, which is like each of those numbers or letters signifies something about the graphics card, I'm sure. I think the first is like the series, right?
It's a very high quality graphics card anyways, being in the 9,000 mark.
The 9,000, so $300 or $400 graphics card is the estimate by Rob here. So if you want a shot at that, it's really easy. Just click on the banner under the stream, or yeah, and go to that website and check it out. It's just easy. Follow them on Twitter, follow them on Facebook. Of course, following them also shows that tournaments like this and supporting tournaments like this is a viable option for them as sponsors. So the more you do it, the more likely we can get a second Root Gaming Invitational and whatnot, and get more people on board for that. So that's gonna be it for us. Thank you very, very much for watching, and yeah, we'll see you next time.
Bye.